how much does relationship play in something like that? You and Justin have a good relationship.
I think it'll win the ties. We push come to shove. This is a great place to be. He wants to win 300 games. It's a good place to do it. We got a good team, so you don't want to go somewhere that you can't do that. So I think at this point, there's a lot of options for him, or there might be a lot of options for him. But if push come to shove, I think he'd like to stay here.
That was Jim Crane talking with Randy McAvoy after Game 6 of the World Series. Justin Verlander is still a free agent. Stros at 4-time right here on the Wheelhouse. The latest on Justin Verlander, Ken Rosenthal in The Athletic wrote about JV in a story that's out earlier today. And I'll read you an excerpt from it. Quote, Verlander, who personally negotiated his free agent deal with Astros owner Jim Crane while vacationing in Italy last offseason, seemed a good bet to re-sign quickly with Houston. But it has not happened, perhaps because Verlander sees the potential for a lucrative opportunities with the Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers, among others. Unlike DeGrom and Rodon, he was not eligible for a qualifying offer, and because he did not receive one, he is not subject to draft pick compensation. The likely AL Cy Young Award winner, who turns 40 on February 20th, could be a short-term, high-dollar fit for any of those clubs. The Mets face losses in free agency, not just of DeGrom, but also Chris Bassett and Taijuan Walker. The Yankees declined to pursue Verlander at the 2017 trade deadline and missed on him in free agency last offseason. The Dodgers might pursue Verlander if Tyler Anderson rejects their $19.65 million qualifying offer, and heck, even if he accepts two. So to update on Tyler Anderson, he did decline the offer, and he already signed with the LA Angels. So maybe now the Dodgers move to the front of the list on a team that could use a guy like Justin Verlander. The Mets make sense. The Yankees could potentially be involved, although I'd rank them a little lower than some of the other teams we just mentioned. If the Astros want Verlander, as we've been talking about for months on this show, they're going to have to pay him a ton of money because Verlander saw Max Scherzer get $43.3 million a season, and Verlander's coming off an AL Cy Young Award season.
It's going to be expensive to keep Justin Verlander, but the relationship and Jim Crane talked about it, the conversation there, the Astros should get first crack at it. It's really about a simple yes or no. Do I want to pay, if I'm Jim Crane, the going rate for what Justin Verlander costs? He's the best pitcher in the American League, maybe the best pitcher in baseball last year. And I understand that as an Astros fan base, we were disappointed with playoff Justin Verlander. Well, the Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Angels if they want to get in, the Cubs if they... There's a lot of teams that would love regular season success, Justin Verlander. They'll figure out the whole playoff thing if they can get there, if they can have success to get there. Like, there are teams that need Justin Verlander that aren't in the playoffs. Like, the Angels come to mind. Now, they just spent money on Tyler Anderson. They have some other stuff, but, the Cubs are a team. The Mets, you just talked about there in the Rosenthal article, they're potentially losing 3 guys off their starting rotation. How about Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander as a 1-2 punch for most of the season for the Mets? It's just about the going rate. And I've seen this conversation pop up on social media, and it's a worthwhile talking point. What is Verlander going to do for the Astros? Should he do anything for the Astros? My conversation point's going to be, if the Astros let a couple $1 million get in the way of signing Justin Verlander, and they really want Justin Verlander to do them a solid and save $2 million, $3 million here or there, then you didn't really want Justin Verlander. Just pay the guy the most of anybody, bring him back. There you go. Justin Verlander's top of your rotation again.
And for the record, Justin Verlander's not a bad postseason pitcher. He's a bad World Series pitcher, but his overall playoff ERA over the course of his career is 3.64. Now, that's not as good as his regular season numbers, but even though he had a bad postseason in 2022, he's been a good postseason pitcher over the course of his career. The World Series has been his biggest bugaboo. So because of that, and because of the regular season success that you talked about, Cody, I don't think anybody's scared away from Justin Verlander because of the World Series numbers. Like, he's still been good in the playoffs for the majority of his career, and obviously we know what he's capable of in the regular season too. So, yeah, it makes sense that teams that generally spend a lot of money are the teams most linked to Justin Verlander. And JV's taking the advice of the miracles. He's shopping around right now, and he should. He should see what's out there because somebody might blow him away with an offer that's way past Max Scherzer, that the Astros would almost be silly to offer. And if that's out there, then it'd be hard to blame Justin Verlander for taking that kind of deal and making that kind of money. So I'm a little bit nervous, guys. I would have felt much better about this thing, obviously, if a deal got done early. But because it didn't get early, it sure feels like there won't be a major hometown discount from Justin Verlander, and it sure feels like he's listening to every other team out there to see what they've got to bring to the table.
And I think there's real shame in all that because this is a guy that's made $66 million the last 3 years to basically pitch just one season. Now, he was amazing this past year, but go back to 2020 and 2021, he was basically paid to not pitch. He pitched 6 innings total during those 2 years. So I would think if the Astros could come close, Verlander would give them a quote-unquote hometown discount. He's not going to turn down an extra $20 million from somewhere else, but if the Astros, let's say, offer $40 million and a team is offering $45, maybe he would listen and come back to Houston. Plus, there's no state income tax here in Texas. That plays a part in negotiations as well. But reading the story here from Ken Rosenthal and then what Chandler Rome also wrote about Verlander in the Chronicle, it does seem like Verlander just wants the most money possible.
I mean, if it's 40 versus 45, what's another $5 million to get Justin Verlander on the roster?
I agree, but what if Jim Crane's like, look, we're trying to stay under the luxury tax. That has draft pick ramifications. We don't want to go there. Help us out.
Well, if you're trying to stay under the luxury tax, you shouldn't have paid the 5th best relief pitcher on your team $33 million. Okay? So I don't want to hear this luxury tax bullcrap, Jim Crane. All right? You stayed under the luxury tax past couple of years. Maybe you pay a little bit of the luxury tax finally, Jimmy. Okay? I don't want to hear this $5 million being the issue, not getting Justin Verlander back.
You just hit him with a Jimmy?
Yeah, Jimmy.
Man.
You're a spoiled fan, man. This team just won a championship, and you're yelling at the owner here.
You're over here asking for a $5 million discount on the best pitcher in baseball.
He didn't pitch for 2 years here.
I don't care. That's not how business works.
Yeah, you don't get paid for what you have done in the past. You're getting paid for what you are about to do.
I'm sorry. I keep
contract.
hearing about how great this relationship is between Verlander and Crane. I think Justin Verlander owes the Astros here. They took care of him. They paid him a ton of money this past year. They're willing to pay him a lot of money seemingly this year, and they paid him to not pitch for 2 years. How greedy do you need to be?
You're worth what the market will pay you, and the market will pay him a truckload of money.
If the Mets offer him $45 million and the Astros come back with 40 and he takes the Mets offer, he's greedy. I'm sorry. I'll defend the Astros on that.
Well, and then the Astros are cheap for not coming up with an extra $5 million for Justin Verlander.
Both can be true.
Both can be true.
Both can be true.
Both can be true.
Yeah, look, if JV, he obviously knows the situation here in Houston. This team gives him the best chance to win a World Series. Of course, he'd have a chance in L.A. Of course, he'd have a chance with the Mets. Of course, he'd have a chance with the Yankees, right? Those teams are good. They made the playoffs this year. They're probably all going to make the playoffs next year, but the Astros just won the World Series, and JV's won 2 of these with the Astros since he got here. So the comfort factor, the chance to get to 300 wins like Jim Crane was talking about in that audio we played coming back from break, and the chance to win a World Series, if all of that stuff matters, then there's a good chance he comes to the Astros. But if he just decides that he's looking for the best contract, which he wouldn't be the first, and he won't be the last athlete to be looking for the best contract, then he could go somewhere else. And he's already won 2 World Series rings. That might be his logic, too. These guys don't get tired of winning, but some guys are like, hey, man, I got my championship or championships. I'm going to go to the place that gives me the most money to take care of my family long term. And give me that generational wealth. Now, 40 or 45 million, he's going to get it either way, but $5 million ain't chump change, all right? That's still a lot of money. So if that's the difference and he takes it, he won't be the first and he won't be the last athlete to be looking for the money for himself more than some of that other stuff that might matter to other athletes.
If Verlander walks and he goes to another team, go sign Jacob DeGrom. Go sign Jacob DeGrom.
That would be a bad idea.
It would be a shorter term. It's not like one of these 7, 8, 9 year commitments. It'd be shorter. You've had success with guys coming back from injury and pitching well in your organization, and you've got the potential for the 6-man rotation, so you can stretch things out so that DeGrom's not working as much as he was. Go sign Jacob DeGrom. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's available. Keeps him away from the Rangers. Strengthens your staff. Fantastic opportunity right there. If you're willing to spend that money on Justin Verlander, why wouldn't you spend that money on Jacob DeGrom as well?
He's going into what will be his age 35 season, and he's made 38 total starts the last 3 years. I think that's a mistake. I'd rather overpay and keep Verlander than pay even more money for, yes, DeGrom's younger, and when he's right, I think he's the best pitcher in the game. But I think it's way too risky for the Astros to shell out that kind of money for an injury-plagued pitcher when the reality is Verlander's a luxury. They don't even necessarily need to keep the guy. They still got 6 quality starters on their team right now.
Yeah, I got a hunch that if JV walks, the Astros won't be bringing in a DeGrom or a Carlos Rodon, all right, like one of the other 2 top pitchers.
They'll say, Hunter Brown, here's your opportunity. Let's go.
They might bring somebody in. They might bring in a Chris Bassett, like somebody who can be a part of this rotation, but not a guy who obviously moves the needle as one of those other dudes. But they might just be saying, hey, man, Fromber's an ace right now. Okay, Lance McCullers Jr., his last fully healthy season, had the second best ERA in the American League. We feel good about Garcia and Urquidy. And Christian Javier, oh, by the way, was the most unhittable pitcher in the world at the end of the postseason. He's going to start all next year. So I don't think it's going to be, and Cody, I don't think you're alone. Like, I think a lot of Astros fans would be ticked if the Astros lose JV and then don't go after one of the other big fish. But the Astros might be looking at this as, hey, man, we've got a number we want for Justin Verlander. If he doesn't take it, we're going to roll with the guys that we have. We're not just going to spend money on a big money pitcher because we've got other fish to fry and bigger issues than what we have in the starting rotation.
I just don't see how you could sit here and be like, well, we're going to pay a 40-year-old guy who's pitched one healthy year in the past 3, and we're not going to pay a mid-30s guy who's had, 1.5 healthy years in the past 3. Like, it's just, the top amount of starts made or the top amount of games pitched in 2020 was 13. He pitched 12 games in 2020. Yeah, I know he was hurt last year and he was hurt the year before. In 15 starts, he got Cy Young votes 2 years ago. Like, The guy's a freak. And you've had a tremendous amount of success with guys who have been hurt staying healthy with you.
He's amazing, but is that where you want to use your resources?
Yeah.
Like, you have other needs.
If I'm going to spend 45 or 40 on JV and he says, no thanks, he takes somebody else, then I'll just take that 40, 45, hand it to Jacob DeGrom, and have the best pitching staff in baseball again.
I don't know if DeGrom ages like Verlander has. Because Verlander's a horse. Jacob DeGrom's issue is pitching. Ask Patrick Creighton, who's a Met fan. He'll tell you all about Jacob DeGrom.
Look, I don't need him to age like Verlander. I need him to be really good the next 3 years.
Yeah.
I don't need him to be good when he's 37, 38, 39. He's going to be on my team. I need him to be when he's good when he's 34, 35, 36.
Excuse me, Cody. Yeah, that's sort of the element that could differentiate the two, right? Like, I assume, even though DeGrom's 35, I assume he'd get a longer contract than Justin Verlander is going to get. So not only are you potentially paying the same amount of money in the short term, it could be something that's longer as well. Now, hey, if DeGrom ages pretty damn well when he has to this point when he's on the mound, then it's all good. But if not, then it's one of those contracts that's going to look really bad and be an albatross for you for a couple of years towards the end.
How should the Astros handle the Justin Verlander situation? Should they pivot and go after DeGrom like Cody thinks they should? You let us know. 713-780-3776. 713-780 ESPN is the number.
Congratulations. You did it. You made it through another one of my videos. Look, if you're a Houston sports fan, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to my channel right now. Like this video. Plus, listen to the Wheelhouse, the show that you just watched on YouTube. You can listen to it on the radio every single weekday from 3 to 7 p.m. on ESPN 97.5 FM and 92.5 FM.